At least the cameras are looking pretty decent today. I don't really have no. Oh, I'm recording, but I don't really have no marks or nothing like that. Cameras looking decent. Feeling pretty good. So, I'm going to be taking a look. I wonder. Hopefully this isn't distorted by all the trucks running in the background, because it's kind of hot. So they leave them running so they can get that AC going. I have the AC off, my windows down, but I rewatched one of my favorite movies the other day, so I thought I'd do a review of it. It is Fury. I hope I haven't done a review of this. If this winds up being a duplicate, it's on me, but I don't think it is. This movie came out in 2014. Stars Brad Pitt, Michael Pena, Shia LaBeouf, and John Bernthal, I think his name is. He plays Punisher in one of the streaming services, and he was also in Ford versus Ferrari. There's little bugs flying around. This is one of the movies that let me know that he's actually a good actor. But I just do my best to get into it. So this movie takes place at the end of World War II, and it follows a tank crew on some of their missions up until their last mission. Now, all the movies I wind up doing reviews on have some type of personal tie towards to my real life or something like that. This one, when this movie came out, I was debating on whether or not to change career, or not change, but rather I was debating on whether or not I was going to leave my job where I'm basically home every night and switch over to a job where I'm on the road more. I told myself, if this job is good, if this movie was any good, that I would stay and go home every night. Now, I know whoever's watching this is like, you're basing your life decisions on a movie. What's going on in your life that you need to do that? And it was a pretty hectic time in my life. I will admit that. The reality of it was I was going to do what was best for me at that time. But I still wanted to watch this movie. So I wound up watching it, and I was kind of skeptical, because I had just seen Brad Pitt. Well, because Brad Pitt had played another role in a movie which kind of doesn't get any respect, which is Inglourious Bastards, because it's a Quentin Tarantino film. I feel like it kind of doesn't get no respect as being a war flick, and it's a little bit more fiction than it is. It's more fiction and fantasy. It's entertainment based, and I feel like this particular film is actually entertainment based as well. But where they succeed as far as the story is concerned, they take real people. They've taken real people, put them in character form, and jazzed it up a little bit. Just made the story a little bit more interesting. I was so excited to see what was gonna happen in this movie, because before this movie came out, I had started to notice like a real improvement in special effects, and I'm like, oh my god, this is taking a look at it's documented as well. This is taking a look at the disadvantages that American tank crews had versus anti-tank guns and anti-tank measures that the Germans had, and including the tanks. Tank to tanks, Germans had better tanks than us for majority of the war, and it's just a wonder how tank crews survived. And they did a great job of depicting that in there. Like, just even the fire from the projectiles shooting out of these tanks, and some of them actually ricocheting and skipping off the ground. Come on, their use of Willie Peter, which I should have probably Googled it to give a more precise answer of what it is. But it's basically it's a chemical reaction that happens when the shell explodes, and the materials in there burn for a longer time. So it's meant to cause a lot of suffering, because when these particular chemicals come together, they burn very hot and slowly, or something like that, or is it very hot and fast? I can't remember which one, but it sticks to the skin, and yeah, war is not pretty. So for anybody thinking this is going to be a nice and easy time at the movies, it's not. It shows, it depicts a lot of violence, of course, and it also depicts some heartwarming moments as well. But they showed how these rounds coming out of these German tanks were able to just pierce the American tanks, and they were just getting decimated. I mean, I think the movie started out with, I want to say it started out with like 4 or 5 tank crews, including the tank named Fury, which is after the name of the movie. I think it was like 4 or 5 tank crews, and it winded up just being Fury at the end. That quick, they were knocked out in succession. Boom, 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 boom. They were really taking. They suffered some big losses from what are these called? They're called Panzerfaust or Panzerbus or something like, I forget the name of them in German, but it was a unique design at the time. It was designed literally to just pierce straight through the armor and go in there and just, you know what I mean? It was designed to do a lot of damage, and they actually showed the effects of that weapon towards the end. So I'm jumping all over the place, and hopefully this isn't. Let me see. I may try to roll this window up. Maybe that'll help. Let me turn this on. I'm gonna sweat again, but I'm gonna turn this window on. I'm gonna roll this window up for a second so you can hear me a little bit better. There's just so much good. I'm gonna roll both windows up. That should be better now. I think it's a lot quieter now. But there's just so much good in this movie. I think the corniness has worn off. There was some corny moments. It's not 100% perfect, I can tell you that. But the interactions between the main characters is decent. It's decent. I think I feel like they've actually were able, these actors and the movie itself, I think these actors in the screen was actually able to capture the interaction that these men would have with one another. I mean, they're friends, but at the same, they're co-workers. They're really good co-workers. They're not best of friends, and that comes out. They've been in hellacious situations, and they don't steer away from anything, any of the realities that were involved in this particular time and these conflicts. They show it's the end of the war, so they show a lot of Hitler Youth. It's just too much history to list off, but towards the end of the war, Hitler had the Nazis had. I'm trying to find the best words to explain it. So the Nazis had something similar to Americans, like the Eagle Scouts or the Boy Scouts or something like that, but they took it a little step further, because towards the end of the war, not all their soldiers, but all their eligible soldiers had been killed or injured or captured. So they had to use the resources which were available: old men, women, and children. But the thing about the Hitler Youth, they had started off like before puberty, like 7 and 8, and raised up inside a military structure. So they've already been basically whipped into shape. So they make really decent soldiers already, but they're children. So I'm trying to think what else happened in this movie. I mean, I'm jumping around, but like I say, a lot of the tanks were lost, like early in the movie, and it winds up just being the Fury and their crew, and they're given one last mission, and on the way to complete this mission, the tracks get blown off by a mine. So in the process of them fixing it, they have a younger guy, which he was brought into the group oh god, it's so graphic. He was brought into the group after they're losing after them losing a tank member of the crew, and he's on like watch. He's on lookout, and he comes running back. Oh, there's a lot of Germans coming, and they make it a point to put to the forefront some of the worst contributors to the war, the SS. These are the guys who, above and beyond duty, these are the most notoriously bad soldiers that the Germans had to offer, and they make a point to have this tank crew encounter them time and time again, and they use it as a point for Brad Pitt's character, who speaks fluent German, to be really disgusted and really hate the SS guys. They make that a point. I really hate these guys. Which is understandable. They don't really show too much from the Germans' perspective, but they don't make the Germans faceless, which I think is really good as far as reality is concerned. Because some movies are just paint them all in a bad picture. They painted them as soldiers, although the enemy soldier, but they still painted them as soldiers, which I think is good to the reality of the movie. And they wind up getting in one last scrimmage. They defend the area they're at inside this tank. Everybody's first thought in the crew was, okay, tank's busted, let's run out to the woods, save our ass, come back and regroup. But that's one major hole in it. But it makes it a better. It's a hole, I feel like, in a movie, but it makes it a better movie by Brad Pitt having this desire to stand and fight with this tank. The tank wasn't going to be destroyed, most likely. It was going to be looted, but it wasn't going to be destroyed. And he refused to give up on that tank. And the character ultimately gave his life in that tank. And so did everybody else except the youngest guy. He wound up getting Brad Pitt's revolver. And another thing, they had weapons that the infantry would have. So they had smaller arms. They had submachine guns. So everybody in the tank pretty much had grease guns. It's a 45 caliber stamped dealie. I should know this, but Brad Pitt's character had a Sturmgewehr, which is you can say it's the predecessor to the AK. I know AK is Russian, and why would Germans have? It's not that complicated, but during that time, if one person was able to get his hands on another country's weapon and, hey, this thing actually runs pretty well, then they're going to take that and modify it and make it well. And in reality, the AK was put into production and made after World War II, so hey, they took a lot of keys from there. It looks similar, but it's not the same thing. He had an American gun, American revolver, I believe, and it had to have been from World War One. So that shows you how long this guy's been fighting, how long he's been a soldier. So I'm just like, I don't know. To me, it's just like, it's amazing to think that there's actually men who did similar things in real life. This is obviously fictional, and it's glorifying the American soldier and the struggles that they went through, which it is what it is. You can have your own opinions about that, but I enjoyed the movie overall. Hopefully I gave enough information about the movie. I just didn't go off on all these different tangents about weapons and personal beliefs and political things and all this other stuff. Good movie though.